Welcome back to the Self-Care Summit, where we are learning how to cope in the midst of a global crisis. My name is Melanie Wood. My business is Soul Ease Massage and Mind Body Therapy, and I work in Elmira, New York. And I'm hosting this summit so that you can have all kinds of different yummy ways to take care of yourself. Maybe when you're not used to being in a position where you're making yourself a priority. That's something that we've all had to learn a little bit about. Today, I have my guest, Gabriel. He's a friend of mine. I used to work with him at the Finger Lakes School of Massage, and I'm so happy to get to see you and to see your face. Welcome. Do you want to say hi to everybody?
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on this sweet program that you've set up.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Tell us more about you. Who are you in the world?
Who am I in the world? I am, like you said, I'm Gabriel Hoff. I'm a massage therapist. I work in Ithaca, New York. I taught at the Finger Lakes School of Massage for 4.5 years. And I specialize in biodynamic craniosacral work, which is a practice of, I like to call it applied meditation. It's very gentle and deep in that way. And I also do medical massage and shiatsu and acupressure and trigger point stuff and connective tissue stuff. So, yeah, mostly do massage, except for right now. I'm not doing any massage.
No. Although I did see that you're creating YouTube videos about how to do self-massage. Is that true?
Yes, yeah. So I'm part of a group called Ithaca Morning Movement that is doing a live stream video series every morning at different times. My time slot is 8:30 a.m. on Tuesdays. So I just did one this morning. And I post those videos on my Facebook page as well. But anybody who's interested can see all of those videos that have already happened and some of the scheduled ones that are upcoming on the Ithaca Morning Movement YouTube page. The other people are Sadie Hayes, who's an acupuncturist, Ann Stork, who teaches Qigong, Jonathan Hall, who teaches Qigong, and Dr. Melissa Miller, who's a chiropractor and nurse practitioner, and she teaches functional movement and stretching, and we're likely to have another acupuncturist doing Qigong. So it's Qigong heavy, but I think they're doing different styles as well. So it should be interesting. But yeah, I mean, like you said, since I'm not able to do massage and I want people to still get massage, this is a way to do it. So this morning, for example, I was thinking that I imagine a lot of people are sitting a lot of the time. If we're supposed to be homebound during this time, that maybe we're sitting, maybe people are working from home, working on their computers, and so there are tension and common pain patterns that come from that, sitting and working on the computer. So head, eyes, neck, shoulders, and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's, low back, all of that. And there's so much we could do for that. So that alone could be its own video series. But
it could be. And I'm finding myself, I'm sitting here and I'm leaning in a little bit. I'm exaggerating now, but I'm like, oh, I want to give myself a little massage. I did
Yeah.
bring my massage cups home to put on myself.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Yeah. So it's so important because we all are in this COVID-19 pandemic in a place, even though we're in our homes, we're in a place where we're not familiar with. A lot of times we spend more time at work than home for a lot of the our culture, our United States culture. And we're in structural patterns, like you said, our body's going through shifts and changes as we adapt to being in an unfamiliar environment, even though we think we're comfortable in this environment. So what are some of the things that you're doing to adapt and cope and come up with ideas about how to share with people?
Some of the things. So um, it seems like from the news we're still able to go out and go for a walk or a run. Um, there hasn't been a complete lockdown, knock on wood, that
Hope that
hopefully
doesn't
that
happen.
doesn't happen. Yeah. I think that's one option. Like Italy is doing that, but um, yeah, so that's been really big for me, especially because it's the spring and like the weather is getting nicer here. Just getting fresh air, I think, especially being inside a lot during the winter, breathing in I think even the best heating system in a house is like, nothing compared to fresh air. And a lot of people don't have the best. So like we have forced air, it's kind of an older system in our house and it's sometimes a little dusty and stuff. So um, yeah, just getting fresh air has been really vital, and and keeping moving, keeping my body moving. Being a massage therapist, I am used to using my body a lot, and so um, if I don't keep moving, then I start to get kind of antsy and
Yes,
stuff.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm discovering that too as the days go by, weeks go by. I thought, oh, this will be a good opportunity for my body to rest. And I'm
Mhm.
actually finding that I'm even more sore from not moving around at the floor, moving around the table, and because it's stretching and strength building to be a massage therapist.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and antsiness, of course, that's part of why this summit is happening, is to help contain the antsiness a little bit. So I can relate to you with that.
Yeah, right. The cabin fever. It's like,
Yeah.
how can I, if I have to be home a lot, how can I rediscover um, my home
Yeah.
in such a way that like it feels um, kind of enlivening to be at home.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we've done is, okay, my wife and I, who's also a massage therapist, Kate Goldsworth, um, we've decided to do some cleaning and reorganizing. So that's felt really nice. I mean, it's kind of spring cleaning time anyway, but it's like, well, we have this time, and especially the first week, I don't know about you, I spend a lot of time like reading the news and kind of like trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So
And now I don't want to look at it at all. No, it's like, okay, stuff's happening, but let's move on to what's in our bubble.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's like it's there's so much about like the serenity prayer,
Mm.
like that, like, okay, what can I do versus like I often find myself thinking like what I can't do. Oh, I want to do this, but I can't do that. I want to do this, but I can't do that either. And so I have to kind of refocus or train myself to focus on what can I do. It's like, well, I can clean. I can, if there's a pile of stuff, like I can kind of get it ready to go out the door, or, you know, go into the giveaway pile. I'm not donating anything right now, but I have a pile ready to be donated when.
You're not spreading the love that much.
Right. No, I mean, like, you know, like old books and stuff,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah, there was a sign up at my local library that said, we are not accepting any donations, because a lot
right.
of people are doing that. They are cleaning out, they are taking the time, like week 1 was done and they're like, okay, now what? Because their entire house got cleaned out and they had donations. And um, I think it's beautiful too. I'm so glad that you brought up that it's springtime. It's kind of time to do this anyway. And I've been thinking about that a lot myself, in terms of springtime being the time for creating new intentions and planting seeds of intentions, and opportunity to rediscover yourself, or put some actions in motion that you've wanted to, you know, just planting those seeds, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you brought that up. It is the time to do that. We have the time now.
Yeah. Right. Right. A lot of people have extra time, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily too. Like, if the people who have kids
Mm-hmm.
are, you know, maybe spending a lot of time kind of taking care of their kids because schools are closed.
Right.
So there's that too. And I don't have kids, so I don't, you know, I don't have kids, and I'm not like, I don't have a 40-hour a week job where I'm working from home. So I have a lot of time.
Yeah, and I actually I emailed the foster care system
Oh,
today.
yeah.
This is being recorded, so here, I guess this is my intention. Here we go. Something I've always wanted to do, is to do emergency or respite foster care. My normal life, where I'm in my office a lot, isn't suitable for like permanent placement of foster kids, but I figured that I could fit in emergency and respite care. So that's something that I did do. So I'm like, well, you're right. My son is with his dad half time. I'm here alone. Why not? I've always wanted to. Why not? So I may have some of those children running around soon, while there's time for that to happen. And
Yeah.
what perfect time to bond and to learn things together and to get creative together. I know that a lot of moms are posting on Facebook. It's like, oh my gosh, where's my glass of wine, or something similar to that, or how does anybody that's a stay-at-home mom have time to take a shower? And
Mm.
but it really is time to bond with folks, whether it's kids at home, or spouses at home, or just even friends on, you know, technology, like what we're doing right now. It's
Mhm.
new ways to form connections.
Yeah. Yeah. The yeah. It's been a, like, it's been a great time for my wife and I in terms of bonding, and just spending a lot of time together. And we have had a lot of really sweet kind of talks and stuff with friends over technology. So that's pretty great. I've been thinking, like, I think I saw some pictures at one point of people during the 1918 Spanish flu,
Uh-huh.
and just thinking about like what we have with technology, for example, versus like what they had at that time, that life was so different 100 years ago.
Mhm. Speaking of technology,
Technology, we have some kind of
is that a fire alarm?
yeah, I think the smoke alarm just went off.
Do you want to go check that out?
I think Kate's looking. All right. Yeah, I think we're okay.
Okay, as
I,
long as you have a house that's safe.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I coming back to what you were saying, I think about that too. I was reading some articles about a man that survived the Spanish flu, then survived World War, and now he got COVID-19 and he survived that too, and he's like 101 years old. And it's like that heartwarming story of like, wow. But all the generations that he has seen go through and all of the different landmark times, it's just incredible to see that. And what reason to be grateful for the time that we have right now.
Yeah.
So there are people that are watching these videos that are not massage therapists, they're not energy practitioners, they're not in the healing world. They might be interested in new opportunity for self-care, but really have no idea what that buzzword means. So could you say, what does self-care mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Self-care, I guess the way that I'm thinking about it right now is prioritizing health and feeling good, or at least relatively good. When I was thinking about this before, what came to me was one of the biggest ways that I kind of work with that, or I should say monitor it, is my energy level. For me, if I feel kind of like I have a good amount of energy to do things, to basically do what I want to do in any given moment, whether it's cook or do some research or something. I mean, like you were saying, like I've been doing a little bit of that. Like the springtime is a great time for kind of researching and planning for the future. So yeah, just making sure that it's sort of like I have an eye on how much energy I have, and then if there's some kind of issue with that, like if I'm feeling tired or lethargic or something, which happens to me sometimes, then I go, okay, well, what do I do about that? So sometimes the answer is maybe I'm kind of tired or lethargic because I've been sitting in the same position, like in front of a computer or something, for a few hours, and I really just need to stretch a little bit, stretch and breathe, stretch and yawn, something like that. Sometimes it's more active, like I really I need to go for a walk, or I need to go for a run, and feel my heart pounding and my blood moving. And sweating. I'm a really big believer in the importance of sweating from exercise. Like exercising, I mean, not overdoing anything, of course, but exercising to the point where you start sweating. And I guess for me that, everybody's body is different, but I don't tend to sweat that easily. Like I can kind of walk up a hill and not sweat. So for me, like sometimes it's like, I need to get stuff moving, too much kind of sitting around, too much, even not just sitting around, but too much like quiet things, or like small movements. Like I could be like doing dishes and cooking and stuff, but that doesn't have the same kind of overall movement as like going for a 10-minute run. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that. So it could be something more active, like stretching or going for a run, or maybe something more passive. It's like maybe my energy is a little like on the fritz, or I'm feeling anxious, or I'm reading too much news or something, and I really just need to like lie on the floor, like lie on the carpet for a little while, or take a nap, or sit against the wall and put my legs up the wall. That's a really nice one to get the blood moving back down. It's like just a little bit of, rebalancing can be tremendous. And it doesn't, like, it's a whole, self-care is a whole spectrum where it could include bigger things like, okay, I'm going to do a 90-minute yoga class once a week. And that's like a big chunk of time. But there's a lot of little things that I do during the day when, like, in the middle of doing other things, like I'm, self-massage, and just like, if anybody's watching right now, maybe you're on your computer or your phone, you can just put your hands on top of your upper traps up here next to your neck, and just take a breath in, and then exhale and just pull down. Give yourself a little pressure, and just kind of like wipe down and like flick it away. Right? 3 seconds, so it's like things like that, where it's trying to find the things that work for me, and that work for people. This is what I'm trying to do with the video series, is like these little kind of interventions, these little things that people can do.
Yeah, I love those.
That's sort of a long answer.
It's a great answer. And as I was listening to your responses, the word that kept coming up for me is reboot or reset. A lot of folks feel like they're kind of stuck. They're stuck in their heads, they're stuck in their bodies, they're stuck in their homes right now. So all of the things that you said, whether it's going for a run and relieving the stagnation in the body by sweating it out, or laying on the floor, laying with the legs up the wall, that's a reset in the opposite direction. It's taking all of the buzz and creating a tiny bit of stagnation so that you feel more settled. Or those little breaks in between things, or the big things, the 90-minute yoga sessions. They're all reset buttons so that you're not stuck.
Yeah. That's it. Another thing that has been really helpful to me is, especially since I've been reading a lot of news, and like reading a lot of articles about what's going on, and it can be intense. So, and I'm sure other people, and you've talked about how reading things can, like, your brain, there's an element of your brain thinking that it's real. Like when I watch like some kind of scary movie, there's part of my brain that thinks that that's actually really happening. And then I have a visceral response to it. So I can be reading about, like, we don't live near New York City, but I can be reading about all of the stuff that's happening in the hospitals in New York City and start feeling that in my body, especially I know a lot of people are really empathic these days. And it's like, if your heart is going out to people, that can be kind of a burden. So to counteract that a little bit, or counterbalance it, to read things that are really uplifting and peaceful.
Absolutely. Or comical.
Comical, yeah.
Yeah, to get out. I love that, the opposite effect. I do think that it's important to read a little bit and to stay up to date with what's happening so that you're informed. So we're living and going through this informed. But yeah, so important. In one of the other videos, I confessed that I've been going to bed with a nightly date with Cuomo.
Nice, yeah.
But then I'm waking up at 2 a.m. going, oh, I'm not feeling rested at all. So I dumped him. I dumped Cuomo.
Good. Yeah.
I listen to him in a different time of the day, and I've been going to bed with silly little, cats and dogs and babies laughing, and really, really just silliness that makes me glow. So thank you for bringing that up. It's so important, not just what we're reading, but the time that we're reading it too.
Right. Right. Oh my gosh. Like right before bed is a really important time to be aware of. It's like, what am I, what fuel am I giving to my dreams right now?
Ooh, yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of people that are like sort of a local Ithaca superstar hero teacher, Tammy Sweet of Heartstone Herbal. She posts blogs that are pretty great, and there's a teacher from Vermont named Thea Elijah who posts blogs that I've been really enjoying. And let's see what else. Sometimes I read Matt Kahn, who's a spiritual teacher. I'm really into Adyashanti, who's another spiritual teacher. So things like, it's like people who are saying things like, okay, there's so much stuff going on in the outside world. Can I tune into the fact that like there is still like beauty and in a lot of places in the world, around where I live at least, there's still silence a lot of the time. So like listening to the silence and kind of enjoying that, or looking out the window and seeing the trees and just kind of taking that in, like reconnecting to nature, and then also gratitude practices, like thinking about what I have and what I'm able to do, like for me or for anyone. I recommend for people who aren't sick or who are not directly caring for people. I think it's really okay to be grateful for that, knowing that when the time is appropriate, that we can go out into the world and help the world at large. But like right now, it's not the appropriate time for me to be doing massage, for example. So,
Right.
So just saying like, okay, I'm going to pause on that. And then when it is the appropriate time, I'm going to kind of gather my energy so that I can then offer my particular gifts. And I would recommend that to anyone. Is like, if you're homebound right now and you can't go out and help the world and the community, like that's okay. Just kind of can develop a plan and then say like, how can I take care of myself now and be grateful for the time now to go out into the world and offer that.
Yeah, you've touched on, in your own words, a theme that's been coming up with just about every single one of these videos. And this is video number 10. And I think a gratitude practice, being grateful for what's here, what's now, who we are right here, right now, is coming up, as well as this is the perfect opportunity to regenerate, re-energize, reboot, and to be ready for when we are back out in the world. So yes, it's the theme. It is the theme, and I love that you were able to say that in your own words as well. Yeah,
Thanks.
really good words of wisdom. That gives us purpose, right? There's purpose in nothingness.
Yeah, or at least there can be. I mean, so Thea Elijah, the person that I mentioned recently, wrote a blog about the power of stopping and how in Chinese medicine, the winter time is this very inward time where where we're kind of dreaming of the future. It's like the seed of a plant. It's not the full plant. It's not even the sprout. It's just the seed, right? And so it's like, okay, there's potential, there's possibility. What could be? And this time for a lot of people of being at home is kind of like a winter experience of like, kind of coming inward. We're not going out into the world right now in a lot of ways. So it's a great time for introspection and yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm thinking about, I'm being asked to be a speaker for a different kind of summit too. And the title of the talk that I'm going to give is maybe we should listen to the voices in our head. So that I'm thinking about that how much potential is in that. See how much energy is just compacted into that tiny little bit, and how we can start to watch that grow, and letting our intuition and letting our thoughts and watching how our thoughts go this way and that way, and letting all of that feed the way that we grow moving forward.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
You're beautiful. You inspire me. Oh, great. So those are all really great things to keep in mind. Do you have any more, for lack of a better term, technique to share with us, or maybe just another message for the community?
Techniques. I think breathing is super important. So one description of, or one way of talking about depression and anxiety that I heard, and I forget where I heard it, but is like when I'm feeling depressed, or even a little bit, right? When my body is feeling that way, I don't breathe very much.
Yeah.
Like my breath is very small or shallow. I don't have many breaths, like in a given minute. And if I'm feeling anxious, there's a tendency to breathe a lot. So, and it might still be shallow, but it's just like there's this sort of heightened sense. And so I think as far as a technique, like tuning into the breath and just even asking the question, like, how is my breathing right now?
Mm-hmm.
What is my state of breathing? And then from there, it can be like, well, you can feel into if from there, if you have an intuition, like, oh, my intuition is just to take a deep breath or to stretch or whatever, then you can allow that. But if you don't have an intuition, that's okay too. You can experiment. So you can say, well, I wonder what it would be like if I took a really, really deep breath, like the deepest breath I've ever taken, right? And like, can I expand my ribs and my belly and my back and like just fill everything with air, and then see how that feels? It's like, well, maybe I'm not going to do that all the time or even very much of the time, but maybe I want to like take some deeper breaths. Or you can see, okay, well, where am I feeling my breath? Am I feeling it up in my collarbones? And you can even like put your fingers on your collarbones to just see if you can feel it there, or the lower ribs or the belly. And breathing into those places as an experiment. So that's what I would encourage people to do for their breath, is to either follow your intuition or to experiment with it and just see what feels good, see what it does when you do these experiments. because the human body is really, it's pretty mysterious sometimes, and like, and there's an ongoing learning process. And I don't think it ever ends. I mean, I don't know.
I hope it never ends.
Yeah.
Really, truly. I mean, the mysteries of the body are infinite and deep. And so I have a question for you about breath, actually. I've had clients that have said, I can't take a deep breath because when I do it, it makes me feel like I can't breathe. It's almost like they feel like they're suffocating if they get their breath any lower than that. What would you say if that was your client? What would you say?
I would say breathe out.
Yeah.
So like try a really, really long breath out. And then I'm waiting, then I wait for the kind of natural inspiration to breathe. This is the point of the pun, right? The inspiration to inspire, right?
Yeah.
Because there is like your body has an inherent reflex to breathe. Like breathing is this funny thing where it's can be totally, it's often totally unconscious, like we're breathing while we're asleep. And it can be a conscious act. I can modulate my breathing if I focus on it. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's like, I've had a lot of, especially if I'm feeling like anxious or stressed out or something, and there's so much energy up in my head, it can be hard to take a deep breath in. And so starting with a deep breath out can be a helpful reset, or at least it can like kind of begin that process.
Yeah, the first time I think that I tried that technique in massage school. Shout out to Cindy. And
Yeah.
Cindy was talking about how it is amazing how long our exhales can be. We have so much more air inside of us than we think that we do. And to breathe out, 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 out forever. I remember her telling the story of how she breathed out and then she waited for that natural urge to take a breath in, and it was well over 2 minutes before, like she was in that pause for about 2 minutes before she even needed to take a breath in, before her body naturally did respond to that. I think that's incredible. I mean, we get anxious and we get into this mode where like I can't breathe, or I'm hyperventilating just to talk so I can talk faster, or in worry, or when we're trying to fall asleep. What a great exercise to just let it out. It's one way of letting everything out. Expressing yourself. There's my pun.
Yeah. All right. Express yourself. Express your breath.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad that we can laugh. all these anatomy jokes, I miss them.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Very cool. Breath. Yep. And we always have our breath to come back to. And until we don't, but we always have our breath to come back to if all else is failing. So I don't hear that very often. You hear breathe and count to 10. So and people are holding their breath and counting to 10, and it's all those big inhales. And they're still all uptight and tense here, and where that works to kind of reset and get air and oxygen in. The whole breathing out thing is often forgotten. So I'm glad that you reminded us of that.
Oh, good. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's symbolic to work with the breath now because the virus attacks the lungs. And so I think there's a thing going on in terms of like humanity with breathing. That's what it seems like.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
And
not
I
sure what it
personally
is.
don't have a mask, but I'm watching everybody walking around with a mask on, and I'm thinking how much air is really getting in. Like just to have to wear a mask all the time is
Yeah,
causing a fair amount of suffering to that organ in our bodies. And lungs are grief, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Chinese medicine. Yeah.
Yep, that's it's all about grief. So we're holding it in, um, which is why I want to come back to your reminder to get fresh air as much as you can. Don't be afraid to get fresh air.
Yeah, even if it's kind of cold and damp, a little bit of, outside, if it's kind of rainy, if it's not the nicest day, a little fresh air goes a long way. And I just want to say, because you mentioned Chinese medicine, like the TCM, the classic emotion associated with the lungs is grief. And one description of grief that I really like a lot is feeling love, but not having, I forget the words. It's like feeling love, but not having a place for it to go.
Mm.
So it's like if somebody dies, then I can't, and I feel love for them, then I can't express my love to them because they're dead. Or if a relationship ends, it's like my love for the person and for that feeling of being in a relationship with that person. I don't have a place for that feeling to go. So finding an avenue for the what's going on internally to express
Yeah.
is really important. And then just to say, like, one of the positive emotions, the quote unquote positive, because I think grief is really positive, even though we think that it's negative often, for the lungs is courage. So, like, if I'm about to do a courageous act, like it's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, very often what I do to begin that action is, I have to take a really deep breath, and like, it's like, okay, here we go, So lungs, there's a lot of, there's a lot about breathing in terms of having the courage to do things that are challenging. And sometimes that's like getting through the day, and sometimes it's like, taking on a big project or doing something new.
Absolutely. And that description of grief is one of the best ones that I've ever heard. And I want to just remind folks that it's not just grief about a person or a people to people relationship. It can be about relationship to self. It can be about relationship to schedule. I love going into work. I love the job that I do. And
Yeah.
I can't express that right now. So I do feel sadness and grief around that because it's not a love that I can express. And I'm so used to being able to do that. So, yeah, doesn't have to be a person.
Right. Right. I mean, it could be an animal. It could be like a previous house that we used to live in.
Mm-hmm.
So many. Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you have to say to our community? If you had a final message, imagine you're talking to the entire world right now. What would that be?
Oh boy.
No pressure.
No pressure, right? So many things. If I had one message, well, let's just say to this community here in kind of upstate New York, I guess I would say that compassion takes a lot of forms, and sometimes compassion is very sweet and nurturing. And that could be like, hugging your dog or cat or your family member, not your friends right now, right? Or and sometimes compassion can be very strong and even fierce, and self-compassion can take the form of creating or maintaining boundaries, in terms of communication or self-care. Like, there can be a little voice, like you mentioned, the voices in your head. There can be a little voice that says, like, I have all this time, and so I'm just gonna like watch movies and drink wine and kind of become a blob on the couch. There is a part of me that wants to do that, but there is another part that like feels and knows that it's better to do things that are good for me in the long term. And I feel like that comes actually from a place of compassion. It's like a fierce compassion.
Yeah.
What's really necessary, what's really important, and caring for those things.
Kind of like you're meeting fire with fire. There's the intensity of what's happening, and rather than kind of buckle down and be your blob, you're meeting fire with fire to become the person that you're going to want to be in the long run as well.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fierce compassion. You should write a book.
I'm sure. I think that's a Buddhist thing. I think that many people have already written books.
People have T-shirts about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes. Well, there's always room for more perspective. That's why there's so many books in the world. I read a lot of them. So, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on. When this is all over and folks are going to need some really yummy biodynamic craniosacral work or medical massage or any of the things, where can they find you?
They can, people can find my website. It's mmmassage.life. That's the short one. I also have another web address, Metta Morpho Massage, METTA, Metta, 2 T's, and then Morpho, MORPHO, and then massage.com, Metamorpho Massage. That's my business name. Metta means, with 2 T's, means loving kindness, and Morpho comes from the blue Morpho butterfly that my wife and I really love, that we sell in Costa Rica. So, so on the web, and then my phone number is 607-708-0181, and people can call or text me, and people can send me an email, gabrielghoff@gmail.com. So, yeah.
Yeah, and all of those, the yummy videos that you gave shout outs to so many people that are putting the movement together in the mornings in the beginning of the video.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So if people go to YouTube and you search for Ithaca Morning Movement, you will be able to see all of those videos, and you'll be able to see like the upcoming live streams will be live streaming into your living room, as it were, from in the morning.
Then you can sweat in the privacy of your own home.
That's right. That's right. We don't have smell-o-vision,
It'll come to that though.
Yeah.
It'll be that whole virtual reality thing where we'll actually be able to be in contact with each other virtually, really. Put our little headphones on and our little visor masks on and go for it. Yeah. All right. Wow, Gab, it was so lovely to have you on here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
You,
you.
you were video number 10, so that means that tomorrow we have another exciting video, number 11. So all of you that are watching, please stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, please stay healthy, stay well, stay home, wash your hands, all of the above. Everything we've been doing for a few weeks now. All right, take good care. Bye.
Take care.